welcome back to the Panic Room, everyone, for Chapter 2 of our podcast book, The Madman's Library. So today we're going to do Chapter 2, and this one goes out to all my horror lovers, because Chapter 2 is books made of flesh and blood. And boy, did this chapter not disappoint. Oh my gosh. So, as I did with the last one, I will put some close-ups of some of the things I'm going to talk about today at the end of this video, just for those of you who care, because there's so much here. Like I said, I'm not going to ramble on. Watch my intro and Chapter 1 video if you guys want to hear me talk about the origins of where this book came from, why we're doing this, yada yada. There's a lot of awesome stuff in here, and really like horror-esque stuff too, obviously, because it's books made out of blood and skin and various other things. But wow, so much stuff. So let's get started. So the first little blurb I want to talk about was right at the beginning. It was talking about how, like, apparently people would use, like, skin that sort of kind of represented the book itself. For example, there was a copy of Voyage to Botany Bay, which was bound in the skin of a kangaroo, because it was, like, in Australia. Let's see. A history of the early part of the reign of King James II was sold in fox skin, because apparently he liked to hunt fox. And there's some copies of Mein Kampf that were bound in skunk skin. I feel like I don't need to say any more about that. Let's see. Moby Dick, bound in whale skin. And even Gone with the Wind, bound in a Confederate flag. I found that funny that, you know, books could, like, relate to their binding. It was something that I had never thought about. Like, I would have never thought to do that, you know? But there's a lot of that in here. You know, there's even talk about, like, books on the female anatomy bound in a woman's skin. And there's even stuff in here about people doing religious texts based on what was available to them. For example, the Quran in West Africa in the 15th century, there's a few of them that were actually done on fish skin. And they were round, because I guess the way you have to skin a fish. So you see that, like, right up here? I thought that was interesting, like people using what they had, essentially, you know, before printing presses became a thing. So another one that I thought was really beautiful that I wanted to show you guys was a set of books by John Milton, Paradise Lost and Paradise Regained, and it is bound in snake skin. Check this action out. Look at that. This one over here. Is that not beautiful? I thought that was lovely. I would totally have that. Oh, here's a really cool one. So this one is an 18th century Nepalese shaman manual. It contained protective charms and spells for exorcising spirits. And the exterior of the book is covered in blood, skin, and flesh fragments from the 5 main beasts: buffalo, chicken, dog, goat, and cow, which represented the 5 senses. Isn't that neat? And it is one hell of a book too. Look at that. Looks like it's getting ready to take off and fly at you. But yeah, isn't that weird, like, the bindings of the books being related to the book itself? Is that something that you guys would have thought of? Comment down below. What do you think? So I love this one. Apparently, you guys have heard of how, you know, like, religious texts especially, like the Bible having to be transcribed by, like, priests and stuff. This never occurred to me to happen, but I am so glad it did. Look at this. First, I'm just going to show you what it is first, and then I'll tell you. You see this? This little face thing here? Yeah, those are like ink splots that somebody has turned into a face. That's in the middle of a transcribed copy of the Song of Solomon from the 12th century. So they think that, like, just some bored priest made some ink blots and, like, got bored and was making a face. I love that. I love that so much. All right, guys. So the next little section of this chapter is books bound in human skin. And you know what? There's a shitload more than I thought there would be. This is a human skull with prayers to the deceased, found in an expedition in 1895. Look at that. Where they wrote them on the skull. Isn't that neat? And look at this gorgeous volume. Is that not beautiful? Ugh. It looks like you should pull it and, like, one of your walls would swing out. Let's see, this is De Ingratus est Corruptionis Virgium. Yes, that's Latin. I'm sure I said that perfectly, too. It's a treaty on virginity, pregnancy, and childbirth, printed in Amsterdam in 1663. The curious little book has been redressed with a piece of skin of a woman tanned for myself. So this one is a book bound in the skin of an executed murderer, John Horwood. Look at this. This one right here. Again, I'm sorry for the glare, guys. I just really wanted to get good lighting so you guys could see everything. So yeah, apparently that was the thing too. Like, they would take the skin of murderers sometimes. And they did mention this, which I'm sure most of you are aware. Back in the day when it was like looked down upon to cut open corpses and do scientific things with them, you know, people used to grave rob. And apparently this kind of went hand in hand with that. Like, when they were done with the corpse, you know, a lot of times they would skin it and tan the skin. Did you guys know you can tan stuff with urine? Like, apparently that was the thing. Yeah, I didn't know that. Which, I mean, I don't know anything about leather. So, apparently that was common. Oh, and here's another one. This is a pocketbook made from the skin of William Burke. And this was after his corpse had been publicly dissected by Professor Alexander Monroe. And it even says on the back of this book, executed 28th of January, 1829. Look at that. Isn't that weird? I love it. Yeah, like, they actually did it as, like, part of his punishment. It is said in here that apparently they would okay stuff like that for certain criminals as a deterrent. Like, don't be a criminal or we're going to make a book out of your ass. Literally. Oh, here's a beautiful one. This is a full page. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? So that is Life and Death Contrasted, an essay on man from 1770. That was one of the illustrations from it. Is that not beautiful? I would totally frame that. So another one is in the Mutter Museum of the College of Physicians of Philadelphia. And they call these anthropodermic books. And apparently some colleges and libraries won't cop to the fact that some of their books are bound in human skin, which I don't really know why. I feel like it would be a curiosity that would get people into your museum or whatever, but I digress. So this particular museum has 3 books bound by the same man, a surgeon and bibliophile by the name of Dr. John Stockton Hugh. He used a piece of thigh skin that he had taken post-mortem from a 28-year-old patient named Mary Lynch, with whom he had made the first diagnosed case of a parasitic illness, trichinosis, in 1868. So he was quoted as saying that he found the material relatively cheap, durable, and waterproof, and almost indistinguishable from pigskin, and he used it to bind 3 medical texts on female health. Anyway, oh, but it gets even better than that. So, get this. You guys thought, like, throwing underwear on the stage, that whole trope, to, like, a rock star was a big deal? Listen to this shit. So, there was a French astronomical writer by the name of Camille Flammarion, who once complimented a handsome young countess on her skin. She was so infatuated that while she was suffering from tuberculosis a few years later, she left instructions on her deathbed that her skin was to be given to him and used to bind his latest work. Allow me to read this. The woman died in 1882, and in accordance with her wishes, her skin was taken to the celebrated Paris physician Dr. Ravoux, who delivered the roll of skin to Flammarion's residence himself. Roll of skin! So he told Flammarion that he had flayed the miraculously attractive young woman, whose name he was forbidden to say, just a few minutes after she passed. And so this guy actually did it. He bound Les Terres du Ciel, The Worlds of the Sky, his novel in 1877. He bound it in her skin. She was such a fan of this guy that she sent him her skin, a roll of it. Can you imagine being such a fan of an author that you just want to, like, flay yourself after you're dead and send your skin to them so that they can put their next book in it? I'm telling you, humanity has been nuts since its inception. It has. Oh, I love this. So, apparently there is another book bound in a woman's skin, and on the back there is a plaque. I'll show you guys. Right here. This plaque right here. It says in Latin, this book is bound in a woman's skin. Hic liber feminio curio convestis est. Are you guys enjoying me trying to speak Latin? Then we get to the next section, books written in blood. Shout out to John. So this one had a lot more info than what I thought. You know, I was aware of, and they mentioned in the book, about Saddam Hussein. He commissioned a Quran in his blood a number of years ago. But there were a lot of things in this book I didn't know, especially the number of Buddhist texts that were written in blood. Yeah, that was kind of shocking. But there was one, because I flipped the page and I was like, is that just like a middle marker page? Is this supposed to be something? So this is an English devotional text circa 1480 to 1490. in the collection of the British Library, and it features 10 consecutive pages painted with representations, not real even, representations of the bleeding wounds suffered by Christ. And apparently the originals are faded in places, and they think it's because of people like worshippers kissing the pages. It doesn't say if these were like done in blood, it just says that they were representations of the wounds, but I thought that was kind of morbid too. So here we have a sutra from a Tibetan manuscript written in blood. Yeah, and they said like you can tell like there's even like a telltale sign of clotting. Yeah, right? Yeah, there was a ton of Buddhist texts in here, and I had no idea there were that many that could be traced back to being written in blood. I really didn't. Oh, okay. So this is possibly my favorite story of this whole thing. So get this. On July 22nd, 1821, the Blendon Hall, which was a vessel chartered by the East India Company, wrecked near the Tristan da Cunha Islands. So, get this. A crude raft was fashioned and several men made it to land, including a Mr. Gormby, the quartermaster, which I don't know what that means. I'm assuming it's like a ship designation, who had pushed past his wife and child to leap aboard the raft to save himself. So that tells you the kind of man we're dealing with already, okay? The passengers and all but 2 of the crew eventually made it to shore, including the captain, Alexander Gregg. The uninhabited landmass that had accorded them such a hostile welcome was aptly named Inaccessible Island. So I'm going to show you this picture, and then I'm going to read you what this thing is. So take a look at this, right? Okay? The details of the ensuing ordeal endured by the survivors come to us in a journal kept by Gregg, the captain, which he wrote entirely in penguin blood. A bundle of the London Times, as well as a writing desk and pens, had washed ashore intact, but no ink, so Gregg improvised. From a journal kept on the islands and written with the blood of penguins, reads the title in the 1847 publication of his account, Fate of the Blendon Hall. It features a front piece illustration of the foraging party attacked by a sea elephant. The livers and brains of the animal made up a daily cuisine of the 82 shipwrecked souls until their rescue by the natives of the islands 4 months later. This guy says that this thing came out of the water at them. This sea elephant. And they ate it. They killed it and ate it. The sea elephant. It even has a tiny little trunk. But yeah, so that's straight up penguin blood. Which, you know what, I had not thought of. Like, I think maybe it's just the horror lover in me. When I hear like books written in blood, I'm thinking like human blood. But it makes sense. Like way back when, you know, you have people, you know, some cultures even, making like animal sacrifices and things. It makes sense that they would have assumed that you could use the animal blood for ink. It never crossed my mind. Let me know, did it cross your mind that animal blood could be used for ink back in the day? Let me know down below. So guys, that's it. Thank you for coming back for another video. I hope you guys are enjoying this. I have been loving the Madman's Library. It is informative. It is beautiful. It is weird. Everything I love in a book. But guys, like I said, stay tuned if you want to see some close-ups after the credits at the end of the video. But until next time, bye for now.